We should be live. All right, guys, give me just a second. Copy. Got to send an email. For some reason my emails ain't up. Here we go. Give me just a second, guys. I'll be right with you. We're going to get Spencer in here. Should have had this up and running. Give me just a second, guys. Send. Hello, anybody in there? Oh, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I just sent the link to get Spencer in here. Hello, Catawba Backwoods, Med, T-Med, Bottom Dollar, Palomino Cash Jr., Catawba, PD, Big Nasty, James Dockery, Mark, 812. Lightning Bugs in the house, Maurice. We got a lot of guys in the house tonight. Hopefully we're going to have a good show, guys. We got Spencer. There he is. He's coming in tonight.
How's it going?
God bless America, guys. God bless each and every one of your families. Let's don't how America got become America and give everybody credit where credit is due. Spencer, welcome to the show tonight, buddy.
Thank you very much.
So, how was your last fishing trip? You want to tell us a little bit about your escapades down the new part of that river?
Well, I don't want to tell you too much because the video will be out Monday, and I was actually going to mention that earlier, but I ran into a flathead that kind of blew my mind a little bit, and a fish big enough where I'd never thought I'd see a fish that big, and I got some pretty good pictures of it, and I got some pretty good video of it, and that'll be out Monday at about 3:30 p.m.
Well, I guess you give us a little sneak preview on your video that you've done posted about all the log jams and stuff y'all had to crawl in and out of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that kind of just goes with the territory. This was actually off the bank, though. This wasn't out of the kayak. If it would have been in the kayak and in that cover that I normally fish, I don't know what I don't know what I would have done. I don't know if I would have landed it. I mean, it was huge. It would have ate a lot of the it would have been able to eat a lot of the flatheads that I've been catching in some of my videos.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, don't give away too much of it. I know we look forward to seeing the video.
What's John, up, Big Nasty?
No, John, for some reason, I don't know if I missed your comments or stuff. It ain't that, no, I don't have a problem at all with you, buddy. No, however, sometimes this chat gets going by so fast that I do miss a lot of comments and a lot of people forget to mention names. And I do apologize for that. I try to catch everybody that's in here. What's up, Ray?
I know words are hard for me sometimes, so I miss stuff myself.
Well, it's when a bunch of them typing in at the same time, it gets to going pretty fast. Like the other night, we had 40 people in here, and it was going pretty fast because me and you, Spencer, they talk amongst each other and give each other a hard time, so it gets to moving pretty quick sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Lint bug, Tracy?
Lightning bug.
A lightning bug. I forgot how to read. He says they don't make a kayak big enough to float me. I will argue that. I got one that's got a 600-pound weight capacity, and my little baby brother, he's 6'5", 350 pounds, and he rides in that one just fine.
There you go. Lightning bug makes them lights that goes on the end of your rods.
Okay.
They're different than whisker sticks. They come with a tubing. I don't have any up here with me. They come with a tubing. You know, when you tie new rigs, you just slide that tubing underneath your rod, and it locks in on the rod. You cannot fling that rascal off, and you just turn it on and off.
That's slick.
Yeah, you'll like him. So look it up. He's a good guy. Good veteran. Good guy.
Cool.
Everybody's in here is good guys. I think. Ain't nobody proved me wrong anyway. Kentucky Cat here tonight. So, you like the camping and just sitting on the bank and throwing some rods out and just enjoying what the good Lord's give us?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about it. I mean, I know you talked a little while ago about some of your adventures out in the middle of nowhere, maybe seeing Bigfoot here and there, but he's nasty up there walking around in the woods because he's about 6'6" or something like that, about 280, 300 pounds. He's a big old guy, so he might be wandering around like Bigfoot.
Right. No, I like getting away from everybody. I'm not a big tournament guy, and that's mainly the big reason. You know, you hop in a tournament and you're surrounded by a bajillion people, and I like competition. I mean, I'm a big wrestler. I wrestled in college. I still coach wrestling, and so I love the competition side of it. But I like to work, man, and I don't mind working to get away from everybody. So to get out there in the middle of nowhere and then fish places where nobody else fishes. And that's one of those big keys to getting on them. I like stupid fish. I like them fish they ain't seen a hook before, you know? And
Yes,
so getting out there in the middle of nowhere and getting away from everybody and being in nature, like you see all kinds of cool stuff. I saw a Dobson fly the other day. I'd never seen one of them. Most terrifying bug you've ever seen in your life. You ever heard of a Helgermite?
Yes.
Yeah, they're the adult version, and they're about 4 to 5 inches long. And the male's got these big antlers. They look like pinchers, but I put a picture of it on my Instagram, and they're just intimidating bug. But once I figured out what it was really cool because what they are is they're an indicator of good water quality. So to see one of them, the first one I've ever seen in my life, it's kind of cool. Like maybe the rivers I fish are improving in water quality a little bit, or maybe all the rain we got's flushed a lot of that stuff out of there. I have no idea, but it was cool to see it.
Well, that's good. I mean, and think about it. Probably 5% of the people in the world will never see that.
Right. Or I was camping a week ago, and I had a raccoon, I think it was a raccoon, walk behind my tent and take a big dump. So my whole tent smelled like raccoon crap for the rest of the night. So that stuff happens too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the woods. We'll all come out, see deer standing in our carport or raccoon in the yard with 6 little ones. And
sure,
I've got little bitty. Now they're flying, but they're still stuck with mama. And that's pretty cool. And you do out there when you fish like that.
Yeah. I heard something big moving in the woods Monday night. It could have been Bigfoot. I don't know. It sounded big enough. And we were actually camping on an island. So one perk of camping on an island is you don't have to worry about as much of that stuff. But you got the beavers and muskrats who show up, which I hate beavers. Beavers are like just mean, and I'm not a fan. But me and muskrats, we get along just fine. Actually, there was about 5 years ago, I was fishing by myself. It was like 3 a.m, and I was on this steep cut bank like this, and there was a little divot for me to put my butt down on and just wash my fishing rods. And there was a muskrat that kept swimming by, and I didn't move a bit. And he saw me on the bank, and I was something different. And he stopped and looked up at me and came up out of the water and crawled about 5-10 foot up on that cut bank. And I just go, boo, as loud as I can, and that thing just rolled down the bank. So I pranked a muskrat. I don't know if anyone else can say they pranked a muskrat.
Yeah, no doubt. But now I wouldn't do that to the beaver because you might have a fight on your hands.
Dude, I ain't messing with no beaver. They're
No.
mean machines, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I got a story for them too. Last year, I was fishing this feeder creek when the river was flooded, and I had a creek chub under a bobber, and I cast him clear up in the creek mouth. And then my clicker starts rolling. I get all excited, reel down, set the hook, and it felt like a really good fish. I'm fighting him, and it goes to the bank and just stops. And this beaver head pops up out of the water and looks at me with my hook stuck in his mouth. Dude, I felt so bad. I'm thinking, my buddy's like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "Give me a knife, cut the line. We're not bringing that into the boat." And,
No.
luckily, the hook pulled, but I did not get a video of that. And honestly, with all the PETA crap, I'm probably pretty glad I didn't.
Yeah, probably pretty good thing you didn't. No, bringing that rascal in the boat, pissed off with a hook in his lip, might not be a good idea. You're exactly right.
Not unless I'm updated on my rabies shots.
You got that right, boy. And a suture kit with you to sew up the holes. That's some big old teeth.
No kidding.
So when you use live baits and stuff and you're chasing them flatheads, what I'm gonna ask you a question that a lot of people ask that I see online, and I pretty much know what your answer is, but what is your preferred bait?
My preferred
Wide spectrum.
Are we talking about preferred live bait or preferred cut bait? Or
let's go live bait first.
Well, my preferred live bait, I'd say overall, as far as convenient to get large quantities of and super effective, is green sunfish. I love green sunfish. They're just mean, man. You put a hook in them and you put them down there and they look like they're going to punch you in the face. You know, they just look pissed off all the time. Bullheads are probably a close second. But if space was not an issue and I could have a giant live well that could support any kind of bait fish I wanted, I'd use a lot of gizzard shad. You know, they're just the big ones. They require so much water to keep them alive that it's just not practical out of the kayak. Now, if I throw a cast net from my kayak and catch some, hell yeah, I'm putting them down there live. Those things are freaking awesome. Carp, you know, if I could fish 1 to 2 pound carp all the time, those are like peanuts for a 40 pounder. They just gobble them up, man.
You hear that, guy, don't you?
Goldfish are good. They're basically a shiny carp. Access to them is limited in Iowa, but I've used them before and they're effective.
Right. Okay. Your favorite cut bait?
Well, in Iowa, I mean, shad. If you can get big chunks of shad, there's nothing better. Second would probably be suckers or green sunfish. Both of them make a pretty good cut bait. If I'm down south, I'm using skipjack, man. They're the best. For blue cats, another good one is those white bass or hybrid stripers. They work pretty good too, and they're real durable. So moving down line, I'd say in Iowa, we don't have skips really, although they've been catching a few of them in southern Iowa this year with all the high water. But shad's definitely the number one, especially the big ones. You get a bunch of 10, 12, 14-inch shad. You can put a slab of cut bait down there like the size of your hand. And, I mean, 40-pound flathead, especially May, June, or then in the fall. That's a great bait, man. Gotcha. People talk about, like, live bait versus cut bait. What's better? I think they both have their time. Like, in the spring and fall, I'd go 50-50 live bait, cut bait. And then it gets in the summer, and then I'm using mostly live bait. But once the fall rolls around, I'd say it's 50-50 again. I use a lot of creek chubs just because they're easy to get, you know. You have your baits you really want, and then you have your baits that you can always get. And I use the baits I can always get more than anything. So preference versus accessibility. Just use what you can get, man.
Yeah, and I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And that was some of the things we talked about a few minutes ago was that, and I see sometimes you do chase the channel cats.
Oh, yeah. And they're a good warm-up for the flatheads.
Right. Now, are they some of the waters up there that you have that are just only channels, or do you end up with some channels and flats, or a combination of all three?
Well, we don't have blue cats up here really, like a real targetable population in central
Right.
Iowa. We got them in the Missouri River out west. We got them in the Mississippi south of Keokuk. But in central Iowa, I mean, every once in a while you hear about someone getting one in the Des Moines River below Ottumwa, but that's about it. They've stocked them in a few lakes, but they're in southern Iowa. So,
Okay.
but anywhere where there's flatheads, there's channel cats. But there are a few lakes that have nothing but channel cats, no flatheads. So it just depends on time of year and body of water. But
Gotcha.
early in the spring, I enjoy channel cats, especially after I've been ice fishing all winter. I want to hook something big, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm still working on the whole ice fishing for catfish thing. It's tough, you know. You can be right on fish and they're not going to eat lots of times. And you do everything right and not catch them a lot of the time. And the people who get on them on a regular basis, props to them. They got dialed in. They know a lot more than me, but a lot of people know a lot more than I do.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's trial and error anyway.
I'm really good at the air part.
Ain't we all?
Right.
Tracy wants to know, do you spend a certain amount of time a year for your traveling around to fish?
For my what?
Just traveling around to fish, and besides just your local fishing, you know.
Oh yeah, I try to get set up my trips around crappy times a year in Iowa. So like right now, flatheads are just going on their nests, and you can catch flatheads when it's spawning. I'm actually going to have a video out next week on catching flatheads during the spawn, but there's just fewer fish to target because there's some are spawning and then some are not. So I mean, your population of targetable fish drops significantly. So July is usually the time I try to go somewhere. Like I'm going to Wheeler on Sunday, and I'll be there for 5 or 6 days, and that'll be my big trip. We wanted to go to Milford, but it's 28 feet over normal pool, and you know, they're tough to target when it's like that. It's hard to justify that trip knowing the fishing's going to be as tough as it's going to be. So if it drops this fall, we might go this fall once the flatheads go to bed for the winter. Like we might go down there in November or something. But
Right.
ideally, I try to plan it when the fishing's hot around home. I want to be home. If the fishing's slow at home, then that's when I'm going to go travel somewhere.
Got you. Yeah, Tracy was trying to figure that out. He said something about ice fishing, and I missed that.
Oh, I'm starting to love ice fishing a whole lot more. I told you I sold my boat, but the dude didn't want the motor. So the motor, if anyone needs a 1978 35 horse long shaft Evinrude, I know a guy who's got one for sale. But I'm going to take that money, whatever I get off of that, and it's going to go to a new ice hut, an insulated one. Because I have an uninsulated one with more holes than Swiss cheese, and I was out there when it was negative 20 one day, and I had that heater cranked up, and I was still pretty chilly.
He said, have some folks that can put you in contact with ice fishing. So Tracy has some folks that he can set you up with if you want to fish with somebody that does a lot of ice fishing, I think is what he's saying.
Sweet. Tell him to shoot me a message on Facebook.
You heard him, Tracy. All right. Yeah, and I have seen some of your videos where you was out on the boat. Is it lake fishing you mostly do that I've seen on your videos, or is that rivers, or?
You know, I love boats. I honestly do. I love kayak fishing, and I love boats. Boats are just a pain, you know, they're hard on your wallet, you know. When I was out in them, I always would use it in rivers because if I was going to a lake, I'd probably just put my kayak in because you don't have to worry about current in the lake, really. But where the boat shined is you had a motor to run upstream, and paddling upriver gets old. But I found a few solutions to that this year, and I got a trolling motor that I can put on my kayak too, and I'll be doing that if the water ever drops a little bit. So I'm mostly running boats on small rivers, the Des Moines River quite a bit. Yeah.
All right. People's asking about your tackle, your rods, your reels, and your line.
Hooked catfish John. mentioned he liked my shirt. I got his shirt. He's got his YouTube channel, Hook Catfish. I love that. He just caught a bruiser this week too, man. But
I seen that.
yeah. I'm a little jealous of that fish.
That was a nice one, wasn't it?
But as far as tackle goes, for flatheads, channels, blues, what are we talking about here? You want me to just go over all of it?
Yeah, I mean, you can start out like your rods that you use for maybe. I see a lot of your Whisker Seekers rods.
Oh yeah, I love those things, man. But for channel cats, I mostly use the medium heavy Whisker Seeker rods, and then for flatheads and blues, I use the heavy actions, either 7.5 or 9.5 foot, and I like them compared to a lot of the other ones. My personal preference, a lot of other heavy duty rods are all fiberglass, and they're bulky and heavy. And the Whisker Seekers, they're a carbon composite. So you have a lot of power in a smaller, compact package that's easier to manage out of a kayak. Gotcha. And as far as line goes, I'm running 85-pound braid and then a 50-pound leader for flatheads. And when I do blue cat fishing, I bump up to a 100-pound leader because when a blue cat hits, they hit like they want to flip the freaking boat over. You know, they bury that rod and it's going in the water like that. It's exciting. I'm getting excited about it already. I haven't caught a blue cat yet. Well, we caught some in March, I guess, but that's been a while. Yeah. And then for channel cats, I still use the 85-pound braid for channel cats, but I just changed the leader to 30-pound.
Right. Yeah. We got a guy in here. He's a carp fisherman. He's in Ireland.
Cool.
He catches some cool carp over there in Ireland too. Some big carp. I mean, do you ever target carp out there on them rivers sometimes?
You know, I really don't. I'm so ate up by catfish, man. It's hard for me to think about much else. July, I fish for hybrid stripers quite a bit because they're kind of like carp, you know, a lot of power in a small package, except carp get way bigger. But it's just the wipers is just kind of a nice change of pace. You know, like flatheads, it's you cast out, and at night it's a waiting game. During the day, you're still just casting, and you wait for your period of time, and then you move on to the next spot. Wipers, it's active fishing. You know, you're casting. It's visual. Lots of times you see the fish blowing up on the surface, smoking shad. That's exciting. I love seeing that. And generally, July is the time of year where you start seeing a lot of that in my neck of the woods.
Right. Yeah, we got a lake up here. It's a waterwork lake where they pump water for the city water, and it's a malt lake, and that's what they stock in the hybrids in there. And you'll never guess what these guys fish for them things with.
Chicken livers.
Yep. Chicken livers. They use salt on them. They salt them down, and that's what they use. And they get some pretty good ones in there, actually. Surprised me. And every once in a while, a striper gets pulled out of it. And the stripers was never stocked in this lake, but they are assuming that some of the let me see, put it up at the ceiling. They estimate or guess that some of the hybrids that there's actually a strand of striper that gets mixed in with them. And in the lake, and there's been a couple nice 30s pulled out of this lake.
No kidding, that would be awesome. I've only ever caught a couple true striped bass, and it just blows me away how powerful they are. I mean, hybrids fight real hard, don't get me wrong, but there's not much that compares to a 20, 30-pound striper.
Yeah, 30-pound buffalo will give you a run for your money.
Yes, they will, especially when you hook one on 6-pound line when you're walleye fishing. That happens quite a bit.
Oh, that would be fun.
It's pretty fun, good time.
So you do some fly fishing?
Walleye fishing.
Walleye. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Once flatheads go to bed, usually sometime in October, then I start getting serious about walleyes. And during the fall, man, you wake up before the sun comes up, you get fishing before the sun comes up, and you get your limit of walleyes, you go home, you clean them, and then you turn on the Hawks game and crack a beer and fry up some walleye, and life is pretty freaking good. Especially if the Cubs are, you know, in the playoffs, so you get to watch playoff baseball, Hawkeye football, and then eat you some fried walleye.
Ain't just about anything fried is good, but them walleye are some good fish to eat.
Oh yeah,
they're good.
They're my favorite.
Do you ever eat any of your hybrids?
Oh yeah. I like to blacken them, like do them Cajun style, blacken them, make a fish taco out of them.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Now, if you was out on a boat, would you prefer river or lake?
Well, it just depends on the river or lake. Like you put me in a crappy river, I'm gonna pick the lake. You put me in a crappy lake, I'm gonna put the river. I mean, I like to be wherever the fish are biting. I really don't care. I like moving water. I guess if all things equal, if everything was equal, I'd prefer to be on a river because I like the moving water.
Right.
But if we're comparing, say, the Des Moines River where I live to Wheeler Reservoir, I'm gonna rather be on Wheeler because that place is a special place, or anywhere on the Tennessee River or the lower Mississippi compared to Big Creek in Iowa. I mean, I'm taking the lower Mississippi. There's some monsters down there.
So I take it that when you start out to catfish, you're going out after the biggest fish that you can put in the boat, period. You're head hunting, basically.
When I started?
No, right now,
Oh,
you're a head
yeah. I say this and it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not. Like I would trade every 20-pound flathead I'd ever caught for 50. Like give away all those fish and just give me one more 50 and I would do that. And would I really? I don't know, but that's kind of my mindset. Like I'll put down Mondo baits knowing that they're not going to get as much action, and I'm okay with that. I just want to catch something big.
Yes. And that's what I was going to ask you is that, that's me. Now, if I got some people on the boat that they're looking for numbers, that's a different story. But by myself or out with just I got a couple buddies that I go out with, and that's what we do. We're looking for that one bite, that one hard pull down where it seems like he's trying to jerk the rod out of the cotton picking stand as a blue. Yep. Or you see that rod that you think, oh man, there's a channel down there just pecking that thing to death, and then all of a sudden that rod just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going south. And the size of bait that you got on there, that there's something jerking the crap out of your line and you ready for it. That's the bait I'm looking for. I've caught my share of dinks. Don't get me wrong, there's times that I'll take the ultralights out, grab me a bucket of worms and some chicken livers if I want some little frying up fish. Go catch me a mess. And they're fun. Yeah. If you match the right equipment with the size of fish that you're chasing, they're all become fun. Chasing 5-pound channels with broom handles, it's not fun. You're just winching them in.
Sure.
Trying to see what else somebody else is saying. Let me see what time it is.
Hey, Scotty Hill's on here. What's up, man?
Yep. Scotty's come in. Roger Dement's come in. I think I seen Lyle from Catfish Weekly a little while ago. How many people we got in here? I can't see on my side. It don't give me an accurate number.
We got 42 good folks. We got Pop on here. What's going on? I ran into him at Catfish Conference. He's a good dude.
Kentucky Cat Man, you seen him up there?
Oh yeah.
There's a bunch of them in here that's there.
It's really hard to forget Pop because his handle on here is the Twerky Monkey.
Yeah,
he told me a story about that. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's definitely something you can't forget. I'm glad he's doing better. He had some surgery and he's doing better. He finally got to get out on the boat. Bill, in here tonight. Appreciate you coming in there, buddy. Got a good crowd. We got over 40. We got over 40 people. That means there's 2 draws off the prize wheel tonight, Spencer.
Sweet.
So, guys, last week I talked about sending in a hat or shirt or stickers to put into the catfish mailbox. And I only got one thing in. Notice I've been wearing his hat. It's the Catawba Backwoods Fishing. He actually sent me 3 hats, 2 to give away, and 1 for me to wear. And so I'll give them a shout out. They in here tonight. What's up, Ham? Trey's the guy that helped me do all the video work and the live work during the tournament, Spencer.
Sweet.
Great guy. Great guy. So, guys, we got 2 hats to give away tonight. And Will and Spencer, it's 8:30, so it's prize time to start a little bit. Let me spin all these guys in here in the chat, and we'll give away one of these hats right now. And PD Fishing.
There you go.
PD, you know how to contact me. A backwoods hat for PD. Thank you for playing, PD. Thank you for coming in and being a big supporter of my channel, buddy, and being on the prize wheel also. Alrighty. Now, let's pull a name for the first spin on the prize wheel. Yep.
Spence is killing me.
The Spence. Bottom Dollar Outdoors. Bottom Dollar Outdoors. And actually,
he just said PD was the Mr. Lucky, and now he is too.
Well, he gets on a roll every once in a while, and them boys will be threatening to throw him in the water because he'll get on a roll where he's got that lucky horseshoe.
I need to get one of them, man.
Yeah, me too. Who is that? Bottom Dollar. All right, Bottom Dollar. Here we go. Wheel. Oh, I got to take Chunky Cat off tonight. Chunky Cat's out of town. Will be out of town for a little while. So no longer on the prize wheel, guys, and you know what the prize wheel is. If anybody wants to get in on the prize wheel, if you do a DIY, contact me and let me know. So I guess if it hits on it, then you'll get you'll get 2 of my bobbers. T-Med's I seen him in here earlier. Bottom Dollar, get a hold of T-Med. DIY prize. Let me write this down because Spencer, if I don't, I will forget it.
I understand. I got some fishing notes that I have to write down that aren't for anyone else's eyes, but if somebody stole my phone, they'd learn a lot. They'd have a lot of reading to do, though.
I don't. I understand. As long as that ain't daggum stuff that, like your passwords and junk like that, I don't keep nothing like that on my phone. Oh,
I'm a nerd. I'm a science teacher, man. Like, that's just me.
Yeah. Everybody's saying that PD needed to be disqualified. Oh, Junior Proctor said he needed to be disqualified.
Why is that?
Junior Proctor said PD needed to be disqualified.
Oh.
Crazy Catfishing wants to know how many times you done fell out of that kayak.
How many? While I was catfishing, fingers crossed, 0. Now, back in the day, I used to do a lot of shark fishing, and that's actually how I started kayaking. And we would throw our shark baits in the back and paddle them offshore. And there was a couple times I was running kayak or shark baits in like 6 to 8 foot waves, and I got rolled a couple times doing that. And that's a weird feeling. Like you'll be paddling, and your kayak will just go straight up, and you hit the top of that wave, and you just go straight back down. But when you get one of them rollers out of one of them sandbars, you go straight up, and that wave curls over the top, and you just keep going backwards.
Oh. Do you lose your equipment when you roll it like that, or you pretty much got it tied down knowing that might happen?
Oh, you don't take any equipment out when you're running a shark bait. Like, I don't even secure the shark bait in the back, hardly. We use sinkers that have little grappling legs on them for the sand, and you just hook it through a pad eye, and all you got in the kayak is a seat, and then you're sitting in it with your life jacket on, and then I'd have my paddle, and I always have a paddle tethered to the kayak. So if I got flipped out of it like that, I'd hold on to the paddle, and the kayak wouldn't, go off and float away from me. I'd still be holding on to it so I could climb back on.
Okay. All right. That sounds pretty daggone smart right there. It sounds like a lesson learned, huh?
Well, as smart as paddling in 8 foot waves can be. I mean, 8-foot wave is an intimidating piece of water, man.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that you'd have to be on your daggum. You'd have to be on your game to even tackle something like that.
Oh, absolutely. You better you gotta have good core strength is what you really gotta have, and a little bit of balance, and you'd be all right.
Well, I'm sure some of them young bucks wrestling you around out there keeps you on your daggum, keeps that 6-pack working right, don't it?
It's hiding in there somewhere.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's do another spin on the daggum DIY wheel. And hooked catfish. Hooked
Hey,
catfish.
what'd Johnny get?
He's going to get a spin on the daggum prize wheel. All right, because we done 2. We break 40 mark in the wheel twice. And I asked everybody that's on the wheel if that was okay with them. Everybody give a thumbs up.
Old Dieter Melhorn's in the house.
Yep, Dieter's in the house. He's been out here in the cabin with us, Spencer.
Oh, no kidding. That's sweet.
Yeah,
I was hoping to run into him at Catfish Conference, but I never did.
That's surprising. Dieter usually talks to everybody, you know.
Maybe that's the problem. I'm just as bad.
Hooked catfish. Hooked catfish. Hooked catfishing. Justin Fishing Fetish and Hooked Catfishing. Y'all contact each other through Messenger or yeah, both of you. I think he's got Hooked Catfishes on Facebook, right, Spencer?
Yeah, he sure is.
So they can actually hook up through Facebook. Catfish and Justin Fishing Fetish. Let me write down so I can keep up with it. All right. And congratulations, Hook Catfishing. Congratulations. And I know good and well that Justin Fishing Fishers set you right. He makes some pretty cool drifting sinkers. The ones that float, got the float stuff in the top, and they float along the bottom like this, up and down. He makes some neat ones. I appreciate you, Justin, being on the prize wheel.
I bet those things will work pretty good over at like LaSalle and Powerton over by John's place.
There you go. So he can put them in. He can put them for good use, huh?
Yep.
That's cool. New School was there at the Catfish Conference also. Did you run into him?
I might have. It's hard for me to put a face with the name, or at least a YouTube channel with the name, you know.
Let's see. What happened? We're bait fishing. Catfish just said. Let's see.
You won, dude.
Yeah.
Catch me some carp, will you? He's got the hookup on those little carp. I'm jealous.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's he catching them with?
You'll have to bring him on here. He might be a good guest for this.
Well, set him up. He can contact me through Facebook Messenger, and I got a couple people scheduled for the next couple of weeks, but I'll be glad to bring somebody else in. I love bringing guests in, especially on the show too. I appreciate everything they have to put in, because that's what Spencer is, that what you do on your waters might work for somewhere else, even on a lake.
Oh yeah,
it might not, but you'll never. I've got a saying: you don't know until you throw. So try it out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, catfish are catfish, no matter where they go. I mean, flatheads are a little odd compared to the rest of them, but channels and blues have a lot of similarities. And a flathead in Iowa wants the same freaking thing that a flathead in Florida wants. They want to eat, they want to be comfortable, and then they want to make little baby flatheads once a year, you know. And each different body of water is different, which might cause those flatheads to do different things. But if you can figure out how they accomplish those things, you can catch them anywhere. Like, I don't fish spots. I fish patterns, and patterns persist from body of water to body of water to body of water. I mean, there's differences between those bodies of water, but usually they're little, you know. The big general concepts apply everywhere. Like blue cats, you know, anywhere on the Tennessee River are going to do comparable things. So and then flatland reservoirs like Milford in Kansas, blue cats there are going to do similar things to what they're going to do in reservoirs in Texas because they're similar bodies of water. So once I get those patterns dialed down, I can go other places. I can go to Milford, but then I can go to Texoma and I can find fish using those patterns and feel at home in a short period of time.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So,
but I'm a geek like that, you know, like I study that stuff all the time. Like I got free time. I'm either going to be editing the video. I'm going to be tackle prepping. I'm going to be researching like peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles and research or tracking surveys on flatheads, or I'm going to take my wife on a date because date night's important too.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that pretty much sums up my life right there if I'm not fishing.
And I mean, that gets back down to what we was talking about, targeting big fish.
Oh, yeah.
Is doing your homework.
Well, if the big fish aren't there, you're not going to catch them. Like you can talk about bait tackle, whatever, but the most boring subject is studying the fish, at least boring to a lot of other people. I find it fascinating. But that's the real key to catching those big fish because their needs always stay the same, but the availability of food fluctuates based on time of year and water level. So the better you understand how water level and time of year impacts fish location, the better you can stay on them consistently.
Now, will you go deep in cover after the fish, after a flathead?
What's that?
Will you go deep into cover getting the flathead? I mean, I got a lot of guys. I like to fish the edges simply because I worry about breaking a fish off with heavy line in cover, and maybe he gets tangled up and die in that cover. I've got a buddy that he's going right dead in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, there's little subtleties I've noticed as far as like whether it's necessary or not. If you get a big flathead, oh, somebody's lighting fireworks outside. That's like, what's that noise? If you get a big flathead on the edge, you say you get a 20, 30 pounder, like a real good fish on the edge of a big brush pile, that tells me there's probably a bigger fish living in it that's pushing that one out because they don't like each other, or you just got lucky. Who knows? Like they go out and roam sometimes too. But I'll go in and fish within the cover as much as the cover allows. And as far as busting the fish off, I don't feel too bad about that. I mean, using 50-pound mono and the line gets wrapped around something, a 20, 30 pounder can break that on a dead pole, you know, with no drag, no flex in the rod. Or if it's just wrapped around a solid branch, they're going to bust off and they'll be all right. But and then the other side of it is it depends on time of year. Like they relate to structure, but I don't feel the need to fish heavy cover in October because a lot of those fish that were relating to that heavy cover in June or August, especially, is when they really dig deep in that stuff. In November, they're not. You know, they're relating to wintering structure. Lots of times it's deep drop-offs. Lots of times it's big slab concrete and stuff like that. So it just depends on where the fish are at. Where I go, where the fish are, you know?
Right.
So,
right. And I mean, so I guess that's another thing is Dieter talked about one of his main things is keeping a log so that you can go back and you say, well, all right, in January, see, we fish year round for flatheads down here.
I'm jealous.
I mean, they are slow, you know, but you can't. Yeah. But, you know, say January comes around, you pull out the log for January, and then you know what to target, where to target, and what to use when you are targeting that type of fish.
I think that's a great idea as long as you don't get in a rut over it. If you have a log based on past success, and you follow that success based on what's written, as long as that's not the only thing you do, I think that's great. You you need to keep experimenting, trying different locations and things like that, because otherwise, like I said, you'll fall in that rut. And unfortunately, yeah, a ton of vicious. Good, and this is me going back to being a wrestler, good is the enemy of great. Like, if you settle for what's been good, you'll never have the possibility of being great. And I mean, sometimes you'll have setbacks too. Like, I'm a big J-hook fan for flatheads. I love J-hooks. They've worked. I experimented with circles a while back, like when I first started flathead fishing, and I had some success, but I missed a lot of fish. Then I started using J's, and I very rarely missed a fish, especially with big ones. Like, their mouths are huge, so there is, honestly, you could get away with a 14-aught J-hook, and you'd still hook the majority of fish if you're using monster baits. That's the other side. You don't want to hook so big it's going to kill your bait. But this spring, I tried circle hooks, went back to them. Use the triple action, and I mean, they work for a lot of people. They didn't work for me, which I think that's in it. And usually it's user error, you know, like if they work for you, you keep doing them. But I missed some fish. I hooked a monster. Like, you know, I hate to throw around numbers, but I can confidently say a 40 to 60 pounder I had on, and the hook pulled. And then I had several others that didn't even get the hook. And then I went back to J-hooks, and life was gravy, you know, like it's back to the good old days. But I wouldn't have known if I hadn't tried. And that's just a terminal tackle thing. So experiment with different tackle, experiment with different locations, and do weird stuff, like especially blue cats. You know, in the winter, you can catch blue cats on a 60-foot sheer drop-off ledge relating to the main channel, or they could be up in 2 foot of water in the middle of the day on a mud flat with their back sticking out. You know, you just got to try different stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Don't put them blinders on. That's the only way you can catch them, and they just ain't biting.
Right.
But you might come across them, the ones that you're seeing are not. They might be some, like you said, up in 2 foot of water that's eating crazy.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm like you. Don't put the blinders on. Yeah, don't be scared to strike out. Don't be scared to go home with a big skunk. I mean, it happens. That's fishing. Don't be scared to throw big baits, guys. Throw live baits, throw natural baits. If it swims, it's bait.
Yep.
I look at it. If you're going after channels, yeah, you can stir it up in a bucket and throw it out. But if you're going after, big blues, big flatheads, and even big channels, stick with what swims.
Oh, absolutely. On the big channels, like we got some bodies of water up north that support some substantial sized channel cats. And if you want to have a shot at contacting a 20 to 30 pound channel cat, and you're fishing dip bait or no balls or whatever, your odds drop significantly. And it's not to say it's not possible, but fishing, at least in my mind, is calculated luck. You know, you got to get a little lucky, but you can bump your odds of getting lucky by using the right bait and fishing the right location and using tackle that'll handle the fish you want to land. And I mean, I think of a lot of dudes I grew up around home that they'll target flatheads. And I mean, location's number one, bait's number two, equipment's number three, though. They got the location dialed, they got the bait dialed, but their equipment, I hear lots of stories about these monsters that got away. And I'm like, why are you messing around with 40-pound braid when you're trying to catch an 80-pound fish? You know, like just bump it up to 85 and forget about it. And then you'll be able to put the heat on the fish that you need to put the heat on them to land the fish you hook, you know, because they don't come around that often. And like you fish the right location with the right bait, at least in Iowa, you might have a shot at 1 60+ pound flathead in your entire life, maybe. And when that chance comes around, you don't want to screw it up. You want to be able to hook that fish properly, put enough pressure on that fish to keep him away from cover and get him to the boat or the bank or the kayak or whatever you're fishing out of.
Exactly. Now, question. You say an 85-pound braid, but the rods that you're using and the reels, you never did say what reels you use. Abu 6000s and 6500s. The most they've got is 16, maybe 17 pounds locked down.
Mm-hmm.
difference if you're using 30-pound versus 85-pound simply because your equipment will not support 85-pound.
Well,
Something.
There's two sides to that. So one thing, yeah, they only put out 16, 17 pounds of drag locked down until you put your thumb on the spool and lean back on them. The other side of it is it's not about the braking strength on a sheer pull. It's about the diameter of the line. If you're using 40-pound braid around rocks, that's basically thread. You know, you put it under pressure, it touches a rock, ping. You got 85-pound braid, that's way thicker, and it's not about applying 85 pounds of pressure to break it. It's about if he gets wrapped around a log, can you pull him off that log? If he gets wrapped around a rock, can you work it off of the rock before that rock cuts through your line? The thicker braid or mono is going to handle a lot more of that kind of abuse than that thin stuff is. If you were in the ocean and you were fishing wide open and cover was not an issue, dude, you could land a 100-pound flathead on 14, 17-pound braid pretty quickly. I genuinely believe, because you could put 10, 12 pounds of drag on them and you'd have them to the boat in 10 minutes. But we're not fishing in the ocean. We're fishing in thick stuff. We're fishing around big slab concrete, rebar, giant root wads shoved up and together. Like somebody drove a car into the river. Well, that's a current break, and catfish will relate to it, you know. But you have pieces of old iron sticking off that's rustier than you know what, and then you have to worry about updating your tetanus shot, and you have to worry about it cutting your braid. So the thicker stuff you got, the better off you are.
So I take it that you are a braid man.
For pretty much all my catfishing, I am. Actually, pretty much everything I am anymore. I like the sensitivity. I like when you hook a big flathead and they throw you them big head shakes. But there's a lot of monos out there that the stretch in them has been reduced enough where it's not that much of a difference.
Right. I use the Andy line. I like the Andy. It don't have a whole lot of stretch to it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels kind of stiff, and you think this stuff ain't gonna cast, but it casts like silk.
Yeah, it's Andy's good stuff. I use that shark fishing, that Andy Monster. It's really really stiff. It's really abrasion resistant and low stretch. It's good stuff. Whisker Seeker's got some good stuff. It casts really, really, really well. It's a little thinner than a lot of the other ones, but man, if you need something to cast a long ways, like you're fishing below spillway for blue cats, put some 30-pound or 40-pound Whisker Seeker on, and it just zings it out there.
I've got one rod that's got the orange Whisker Seekers, and I'd ordered a bunch of their rattles and stuff like that, and I got a spool of it. I want a spool from them, and you're right, that stuff casts like crazy. It surprised me because I'd never heard of their line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're based up out of Des Moines. They're about an hour from where I'm at. And so, I mean, everything was pretty much launched locally to begin with. And that's how I heard of it from the get-go. And the more and more and more and more stuff I use, they keep coming out with new stuff all the time. The more and more and more I fall in love with it. So the rattles, you know, that's just kind of a little tweak you can put on stuff. Sometimes it really does seem to make a difference. And I always run rods with rattles. I always run rods without rattles, just to cover all the spectrum.
Right. And let's see. Now, I'm like you, and I kind of rotated around some of the rods. I'll throw just a plain Carolina rig or a fixed weight, just like your last video you're talking about, fixed weight, whether sliding weight. Run the Santee rigs on the other part of them. I kind of let the fish tell me what they're preferring, whether they want that bait hovering up the bottom, or whether they're suspended, want it underneath a float, or laying on the bottom and they pick it up like an old dog picking up a biscuit. So do you ever float fish using?
Oh, it's my favorite, man. It's my favorite way to catch flatheads. Yes, if you want to talk about Whisker Seeker stuff, they got these big old foam floats with glow sticks built into them. They're battery powered, but I'll run. It's called a float paternoster rig, is what it's called. I learned about it from in fishermen back in the day. Doug Stange's kind of my idol, I guess. But you take your float, and then underneath of that you got your hook, but underneath your hook you got your weight sitting on the bottom. So your bait fish is suspended with the help of the bobber, keeping everything straight up and down.
Right.
And that's my favorite flathead rig. And with those big EVA floats, you can, like, I fish 1 to 2 pound bullheads pretty regularly under them. And bullheads are my favorite bait to fish under a float for flatheads because they want to be on the bottom. They want to be hiding in cover. And if you got them suspended, they just keep struggling for hours and hours and hours. And that's what calls flatheads in, is those vibrations. So
Yeah.
But water conditions pending, if it's possible to fish at least one float rig at night for flatheads, I'm fishing at least one float rig at night for flatheads.
There you go, guys. Don't limit yourself to just bottom fishing.
Well, I mean, you think about it, people run diddy pools, and a lot of those
Right.
guys running diddy pools put their bait right on top of the water, thrashing around. Suspended baits struggle more, and flatheads, they're designed, evolutionarily designed to feed up. You know, like their bottom jaw protrudes out further than their top jaw. Their eyes are on top of their head, not on the sides like blues and channel cats are. Blues and channels, they generally feed straight forward or down. Flatheads are geared to be underneath of the fish and then feed up, come up and, you know, just sneak up and whoosh, that bait's gone.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's why you see them on jug fishing too. And the jug fisherman might not be fishing, but the jug floating across the surface of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm not believe in doing it. I love to float a bait and 3, 4, 5 foot of water up there next to the bank and let that old big or bullhead. I don't do too good with bullheads over here in the lake that we actually fish. I know there should be bullheads in that lake, but I think I haven't seen one caught in years out of Lake Wiley. Fish, I don't get to travel a lot like you do, Spencer, and try different areas. But I got a buddy that loves bullheads. He's got a little old pond that is slam full of these things. He's got some lakes that they work good, but for some reason, Wiley, we haven't been able to get them. Don't know why.
Well, it's probably whatever your indigenous bait source is. You know, you talk about natural baits. Well, if there's not very many bullheads in that lake, that's basically a unfamiliar food to them, and they're less likely to key in on it because, you know, they smell different, I'm sure, and then they put out different vibrations. Like you put a green sunfish down there and your rod tip just goes like that. A bullhead you put down there and you just see your rod tip keep moving like that. And every once in a while you get that, you know, that quick flutter of the tail of your bait, but they put out different vibrations and fish key into different things over their whole lifetime. They're like people, you know, you get used to something and you like it and you stick with it. I think fish function that way similarly too.
Like when we come around that barbecue place when they sitting there smoking all that meat, you know what they smoking. You know what they
Oh yeah. Well, that's funny you bring that up. I had brisket for dinner. I mean, and when I smell a brisket, I come running.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. So that's the same thing with the fish. Do you think, I'm going to ask you a question. I've asked a lot of people this question. You think that, say, brim when they're spawn, would you think that would be some of the better baits to use for flatheads simply because that becomes an easier bait for a flathead to eat? Simply because they're starting to congregate up on the banks, on beds. They come in at night, and I target brim bedding areas at that time of year. Crappie are headed to the banks to spawn. I throw crappie as bait.
I mean, it seems logical. It's just tough because there's so many variables that play out. You know, like I said, I'm a big science guy. My wife is actually getting her PhD in molecular biology. So we have some pretty dorky conversations, but to isolate all the variables in that experiment would be tough, and you have to play it out over a period of time. Where if you wanted to run that experiment, it's possible, but to definitively say that using brim or bluegills or whatever you want to call them when they're spawning is going to be a better bait choice, maybe, but it's hard for me to say definitively whether that really makes a difference. I think it's so secondary to location. I mean you could go and fish your spawning beds that time of year, and I just run the experiment. Like use bluegills, use suckers or shad or whatever else you're using, and just see which one gets the most action fishing in similar areas. But I haven't ran that experiment, so it's hard for me to say. I don't fish very many lakes around here because I haven't had a lot of success targeting flatheads on lakes. So I stick to the rivers.
Well, guys, I don't know what's happening. This thing just jumping back and forth, back and forth. I'm trying to stay as quiet as I can. I don't know, jumping back from your picture to my picture, your picture to my picture, back and forth. I don't know what's going on. I apologize for it. I know we're probably getting close to 9 o'clock there, Spencer. Yeah, we're 9 o'clock. More drawing. I got another hat to give away.
Do it.
And we'll shut this show down if you don't mind. And I really hate to cut it short when we got this crowd of people in here. But, Spencer, these guys will keep you up all night in chat wanting to talk. And that's cool, too. And I enjoy and appreciate every one of them in here.
I'm just as bad as anybody else as far as that goes. You get to talking fishing. I talk fishing forever.
Oh, yes. Yes. I love it. Scott Hill. Hill, contact me. You want a hat from Catawba Backwoods? I know it looks backwards to y'all, but it's Catawba Backwoods. They sent some hats to enter into the Catfish mailbox. Scotty Hill, contact me. Give me your name and your address, your real name and your address, and we'll get the hat out to you. PD will get his hat. He got to contact me, bottom dollar, get a hold of the guys. So Spencer enjoyed it, and we could keep on all night, but I'm sure Mama's wanting me to get back home pretty soon. She's sitting down.
I'm sure she'd appreciate that.
She's sitting back there with a recliner and a 45 in her lap with the door standing open, so we
There
good.
Must be a critter running outside.
Well, I'll just say the neighborhood a little on down the road, there's some two-legged critters that have wandering around up here. We got a neighbor. There's 200-year-old houses down there that his daddy used to live in, and it's full of antique stuff, and they've had some of them two-legged critters right down the road breaking into their buildings. So, yeah, she's sitting there. If I'm up here, she sits there, and just in case. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So we've had a great show tonight, Spencer. I'd like to have you in here again. Bring in a couple others into the show that like to do a lot of kayak fishing. New School's in here. He does kayak fishing on Lake Wiley and other lakes. He's actually, last year, I think he put a 60 in that kayak, 60-pound blue.
Woo.
Yeah, that was a kayak full of, and he actually goes out a lot in the wintertime. He's got a couple of videos New School does, him out in the kayak catching big fish in a kayak, and it's spitting snow. That's
sweet.
Yeah, that was some good videos, but we've got some good guys in here, Spencer. They've enjoyed having you in here. I know they have. Make sure we hit the thumbs up. Check out Spencer's channel, Certified. Check him out. Subscribe to him. I know you enjoy his videos. I have since the first one I watched. You was bank fish throwing the big round bobbers.
Yes, sir.
That's been a couple years ago, ain't it?
Had been, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been watching you since then, and
I appreciate it.
Since then, you taught me a lot too, and I use that advice. Now, whether it'll work for me where I'm fishing, I don't know. But if I don't try it, I'll never know.
True.
But Spencer, I thank you. I meant to ask you, was you ever in the service?
I was not. I went straight from high school to college, and I went straight from high school to college and wrestled the whole time and got out and became a teacher.
Well, I appreciate it. We need our teachers. We need our youth to learn the right ways of life. And I think you wrestle them around and hoss them around a little bit.
They keep me limber too.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Them youngins, they move a little bit more frisky than when you get a little older. You learn that real quick.
Right.
But Spencer, I do appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for coming in here tonight, supporting Spencer and myself in this channel. I hope you yourself in chat. Spencer, we'll do this again. You got my number now on the telephone. If you might want to bring up in a future show and say, I'll cover this, say for fall fishing. If you know, if you got some tips or something for fall fishing coming up, we'll schedule a show up, maybe schedule a couple kayakers in here. I think I can bring more than 2 or 3 people is the most you can bring in here at a time. And I'd like to do a show on kayak fishing.
It'd be a good time.
All right. And we'll schedule that up in closer to fall. With that being said, guys, this is Patriot James and Spencer from River Certified. We thank you for coming in. God bless America, and God bless each and every one of you. Take care of yourself, and we'll both see you on the water. Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you, guys.